Hello and welcome back to my channel, Emily's Creative Life. I hope everyone is having a good week and staying safe so far. It's kind of a crazy world out there. So here in this video is going to be kind of informal. It's not going to be like the rest of mine. I just wanted to get a video up, so this is the quickest way that I can do that. But I'm using a stamp set by Richard Garay, the Amazing Blooms stamp set, and my new Gina K inks. This first color is Peach Bellini, and then Innocent Pink. And I'm stamping that down onto my Cougar 110 pound cardstock. I will stamp each of those 2 times. Because these stamps are not photopolymer, I don't get the best coverage, so I stamped them twice to make sure that it really filled in that image. And then for the ombre part of it, I used Sweet Mango on top of that Peach Bellini, and used my little absorber towel to kind of wipe around the edges a little bit to give it that ombre look from the center. And then here I've got some Dusty Rose, and that will go in the center of that pink flower. My little baby boy just turned 6 months old, and he's here with me, so he's learning a lot with his voice and using it a lot more. I apologize for the background noise. But yeah, we've had just a busy couple of weeks out here. We've been digging to put our septic system in, and then as soon as we're done with that, we can start pouring for our foundation for our house, and it's just been busy with that, and then the world's craziness. As of right now, me and my family are safe. We've just had the COVID-19 confirmed in our area, so we're trying to do what we can to keep ourselves and our children safe, but for right now it's going okay. So here I just did the same thing with those little flowers, and then I'm doing the same thing. I kind of changed the little rag or towel that I was excuse me, using to clean up around the flower. I started with a little absorber towel, and then I think I used a microfiber towel at one point, and then a paper towel. I couldn't really make up my mind. And then here I'm using the leaf image from that set and using Apple Mint. This is my favorite color in her ink line. I love the apple mint color, or the mint green colors. And then the Lucky Clover color for the darker ombre in that leaf. And when I finished with that, I used the coordinating dies and die cut all of those images out. So here I'm just using some purple tape to hold those down. And then I go ahead and I run that through my Sizzix Big Kick machine. I put a scrap piece of paper on top of those before I ran them through, because I didn't want the dirtiness from my plates to smudge onto my freshly stamped images. My plates are kind of dirty and I need to clean them. So that was my lazy way of making sure my images came out right. And then here I've got another panel of that Cougar cardstock and this shattered looking background stamp. I treated my paper with an anti-static powder bag, and then I will be using some Versamark ink. So I go ahead and ink that up, and then I will stamp that down. And then when I have finished with that, I heat emboss it using my white embossing powder. I use the Hero Arts white embossing powder. So then I use my Wagner heat gun to go ahead and melt all of that. And I had that heating up as I was stamping and putting the embossing powder on. And then I've got some Gina K soft stone ink and my ink blending brush here. I just wanted to use a softer gray color on the edges and then blending from the edge to the middle, leaving the center white. I've tried all the ink blending tools, well not all of them, but the ones with the foam pads on them, and those just don't work for me. I've never been able to get a good blend with those. Unless I want a really heavily inked paper, then I will use them with my oxide inks, but I prefer the blending brushes because it's the cheater's way for me to get a soft blend. So here I'm using my tonic guillotine paper trimmer, and I am trimming down that ink blended heat embossed panel. I didn't really measure what I was cutting off on the sides, I just kind of trimmed until I felt like it was where I wanted it. And then I'm using my EK Tools scoring board and Teflon bone folder to score another piece of that Cougar cardstock at 5.5 inches for a top folding A2 sized note card. And then I've got a piece of craft foam here, cut down a little bit smaller than that ink blended panel, and I'm using my Helmar liquid adhesive to adhere that craft foam onto the back of that panel. And then I went ahead and just lined that up and got it as straight as I could, and then I placed that off to the side with an acrylic block on it to dry. And then I've got a stamp set here by scrapbook.com, the Handmade Essentials stamp set, and I'm using the Thinking of You stamp from that set. I just placed that sentiment on a piece of that Cougar cardstock, kind of down at the bottom, and then used that same soft stone ink to ink that up twice. And then I will be using my tonic guillotine trimmer again to trim that down into a little label. And then I've got some foam tape here that I am placing on the back of the flowers and leaves. I will create a little bit of a cluster in the top portion of that ink blended panel. I have tried lots of different foam tapes over the years. I always try to find the most inexpensive but decent quality products so that I can put more of the money into stamp sets and things like that. And after trying so many different kinds, I just always go back to the Scotch 3M foam tape. It's a little bit sturdier and it's tearable, which is nice for a lazy person. So I like that one, because cutting the foam tape every time just is a little bit tedious. Anything I can do to save time in it is nice, so that I can put more of that time into the design process. So then I went ahead and adhered that sentiment label down using that foam tape, and then I've got some iridescent clear sequins by Darice that I am adhering down, scattered kind of all over the card, a couple of them on the flowers, because I wanted the color from the flowers to shine through those sequins. I thought that it would add a nice little touch to it. And then when I have finished with that, this is the completed card. I love how this one turned out. Those colors are just so beautiful together. And I hope all of you stay safe, and I will see you hopefully soon for another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.